The Power of Patience. Why Delayed Gratification Leads to Ultimate Success, written by Ronnie Rowland. Published by Growth Literacy Lounge. We live in a world that moves fast. Notifications demand our attention, instant downloads eliminate waiting, and same-day delivery brings what we want, when we want it. Everything around us reinforces the idea that faster is better, that waiting is wasted time, and that success should be immediate. But here's the truth. Anything truly worthwhile takes time. Jim Rohn once said, "Success is neither magical nor mysterious. Success is the natural consequence of consistently applying basic fundamentals." Yet, in a society addicted to shortcuts, few are willing to put in the time. We see the highlight reels of success, billion-dollar companies, championship athletes, viral influencers, but what we don't see is the patience behind the scenes. The years of effort, the failures, the moments of doubt that were overcome only because someone had the discipline to wait. This book is about that discipline. It's about mastering the ability to delay gratification in a world that constantly tempts us to take the easy way out. It's about understanding that the most successful people aren't the ones who chase quick wins, but the ones who trust the process, stay consistent, and commit to long-term growth. Patience isn't passive, it's an active choice. It's the entrepreneur who keeps building when profits aren't immediate. It's the athlete who trains every day, despite no instant results. It's the investor who stays the course instead of panicking at the first sign of a downturn. It's the student who keeps studying even when learning feels slow. This book isn't about simply waiting, it's about waiting well. It will show you how to rewire your brain for patience, how to resist the urge for immediate gratification, and how to turn patience into a powerful competitive advantage. By the end, you won't just understand why patience matters, you'll have the tools to practice it daily. The question isn't whether patience leads to success. The question is, will you develop the patience to reach yours? If you're ready to stop chasing quick fixes and start building something real, let's begin. Chapter 1. The Marshmallow Test. Imagine you're 6 years old. You're sitting in a quiet room, staring at a marshmallow on a plate. A researcher tells you that if you wait 15 minutes without eating it, you'll get a second marshmallow. The choice is simple: enjoy one now, or have two later. It seems like a small decision, but what if I told you this moment could predict your future success? In 1972, psychologist Walter Mischel conducted this experiment with hundreds of children at Stanford University. Some kids gave in almost immediately, while others squirmed, covered their eyes, or sang songs to distract themselves. They waited. Years later, researchers followed up and found something remarkable. The children who resisted temptation tended to have higher SAT scores, better health, and greater career success. They were better at handling stress, maintaining focus, and achieving their goals. The ability to delay gratification turned out to be one of the strongest predictors of long-term success. Fast forward to today, and we live in a world where instant gratification is the norm. You can order food, binge an entire TV series, or get a package delivered within hours. Social media gives us instant validation, making patience feel unnecessary. Everything is designed to be fast, easy, and convenient. But while speed may be satisfying in the moment, it rarely leads to lasting success. Think about the biggest accomplishments in life. Building a successful career, mastering a skill, developing strong relationships, none of these happen overnight. Yet, most people struggle with patience. We want results immediately, and when they don't come, we quit. The entrepreneur who gives up after a few months because their business isn't booming. The person who abandons their fitness journey because they don't see progress in 2 weeks. The investor who pulls their money out too soon, missing out on long-term gains. These are all examples of impatience sabotaging potential success. Patience isn't about simply waiting. It's about maintaining discipline and faith in a process, even when rewards aren't immediate. The most successful people in the world understand this. Warren Buffett built his fortune by thinking long-term, not chasing quick profits. Elite athletes train for years before they see the peak of their performance. Best-selling authors write dozens of drafts before their book finally becomes a hit. They all share a common trait: they resist the temptation of quick wins in favor of greater rewards down the road. But here's the good news: patience is not just something you're born with. It's a skill, and just like any skill, it can be developed, strengthened, and mastered. This book is going to show you exactly how to do that. You'll learn why patience is the foundation of success, how to rewire your brain for delayed gratification, and how to build habits that reinforce long-term thinking. You'll discover practical strategies to stay focused on the bigger picture, even when short-term temptations try to pull you off track. This isn't just about success in one area of life. Mastering patience will help you in everything. Want to build wealth? You need the patience to let your investments grow. Want to get in shape? You need the patience to stick to your fitness plan when results aren't instant. Want better relationships? You need the patience to build trust over time. Every great achievement requires the ability to wait, persist, and trust the process. By the end of this book, you won't just understand why patience is important, you'll know how to practice it daily. You'll have tools to resist distractions, stay committed to long-term goals, and develop the kind of discipline that separates those who succeed from those who settle. So let's go back to that marshmallow on the table. If I placed one in front of you right now, would you eat it immediately or wait for the second one? More importantly, are you ready to learn how to make patience your greatest advantage? If so, let's begin. Chapter 2. The Science Behind Self-Control. Why do we struggle with patience? Why does the promise of something better in the future often lose to the temptation of something right now? The answer lies in the way our brains are wired. At the core of every decision we make, there's a battle happening inside our minds. On one side, we have the limbic system, the part of the brain responsible for emotions, impulses, and instant gratification. It's ancient, designed for survival, and constantly seeking pleasure. On the other side, we have the prefrontal cortex, the rational part of the brain that controls long-term planning, decision-making, and self-discipline. The limbic system wants rewards now. The prefrontal cortex knows that waiting often leads to better results. Every time we face a choice between instant and delayed gratification, these two systems go to war. This conflict isn't just theoretical, it has been measured in real time. Neuroscientists have used brain scans to observe what happens when people are given choices between an immediate but smaller reward and a larger but delayed one. When people opt for the immediate reward, the limbic system lights up with activity. But when they choose to wait, the prefrontal cortex takes control. This shows that patience isn't about willpower alone, it's about which part of the brain is leading the decision. The problem is that our modern world is built to constantly trigger the limbic system. Social media notifications give us instant validation, fast food delivers quick pleasure. Streaming platforms eliminate the need to wait for the next episode. Every convenience is designed to encourage impulsive behavior. The more we indulge in these quick rewards, the weaker our ability to delay gratification becomes. Over time, our brains get conditioned to expect everything immediately, making patience feel unnatural. This explains why so many people struggle with discipline. We set goals, make plans, and tell ourselves we'll stick to them. But when immediate temptations appear, logic gets overridden by emotion. A single moment of weakness can derail weeks of progress. That's not because we're lazy or lack ambition, it's because we haven't trained our brains to handle delayed rewards. The good news is that self-control isn't a fixed trait. It's a muscle that can be strengthened with practice. Just like lifting weights builds physical strength, small acts of patience build mental discipline. Research shows that people who regularly practice delaying gratification, whether by waiting a few extra minutes before eating, resisting unnecessary purchases, or pacing themselves on tasks, develop stronger self-control over time. Their prefrontal cortex becomes more active in decision-making, making it easier to choose long-term benefits over short-term pleasure. One study found that simply pausing before making a decision increases the likelihood of choosing the smarter option. This is why the 5-second rule, a simple habit of counting to 5 before reacting to an impulse, can be so effective. It forces the prefrontal cortex to step in before the limbic system can take over. Small delays create mental space, allowing logic to win over emotion. Another powerful technique is visualization. Studies show that when people vividly imagine their future selves, what they will look like, how they will feel, and what they will have accomplished, they make better long-term decisions. The more real the future feels, the easier it is to act in its favor. Athletes, CEOs, and top performers use this technique to stay committed to long-term goals, training their brains to resist short-term distractions. Understanding the science of self-control is the first step to mastering patience. When you realize that every decision is a battle between two parts of your brain, you can start taking control. You can train yourself to pause before acting, to delay gratification in small ways, and to make choices that serve your future instead of your impulses. The goal isn't to eliminate pleasure or deny yourself rewards. It's to ensure that the rewards you pursue are the ones that truly matter. Instead of chasing fleeting gratification, you can develop the discipline to wait for something greater. The more you practice, the stronger your self-control becomes. The stronger your self-control, the more power you have over your own success. Every time you resist an impulse, you strengthen the part of your brain that governs discipline. Every time you choose patience, you make it easier to do it again. It's not about being perfect, it's about training yourself to win the battle, one decision at a time. Chapter 3. The Cost of Instant Gratification. Every day, we make small choices that seem harmless in the moment. We hit snooze instead of waking up early. We grab fast food instead of cooking a healthy meal. We spend money on things we don't need instead of saving for something meaningful. These decisions feel good in the moment, but over time they add up to something much bigger: the slow erosion of self-discipline and the loss of long-term rewards. Instant gratification is seductive. It promises immediate pleasure with no waiting, no struggle, and no uncertainty. It's the reason people chase shortcuts, gamble on quick money schemes, and expect overnight success. But what we don't realize is that every time we choose immediate pleasure over long-term benefits, we pay a hidden price. Consider the story of lottery winners. Studies show that most people who win millions end up broke within a few years. Why? Because sudden wealth magnifies existing habits. If someone isn't disciplined with a small amount of money, they won't be disciplined with a large amount either. The desire for instant pleasure leads to reckless spending, bad investments, and financial ruin. The same principle applies to everything in life. When we take shortcuts instead of building real discipline, the success we achieve rarely lasts. Social media is another example. It gives us instant validation, likes, comments, and shares that make us feel important. But this constant feedback loop can rewire our brains to seek external approval instead of internal growth. People spend hours chasing engagement, but what does it really accomplish? If we're not careful, we trade real achievement for the illusion of success. Health is another area where impatience leads to failure. Many people want to get in shape but give up after a few weeks because they don't see instant results. They jump from one diet to another, hoping for a quick fix. But fitness, like everything else, requires patience. Muscles don't grow overnight, just like habits don't form instantly. The ones who succeed aren't the ones who work the hardest for a few days, but the ones who stick with it long enough to see progress. The financial world is full of cautionary tales about instant gratification. Investors who panic and sell stocks too soon miss out on long-term gains. Entrepreneurs who chase quick profits instead of building strong foundations end up with businesses that collapse. Warren Buffett once said, "The stock market is a device for transferring money from the impatient to the patient." This applies to more than just investing, it applies to life. The greatest rewards always come to those who can wait. Even relationships suffer when impatience takes over. People expect deep connections instantly, but strong relationships take time to build. Trust isn't given overnight. Love isn't just a feeling, it's a long-term commitment. Friendships, marriages, and professional partnerships all require patience. Those who jump from one relationship to another, expecting instant fulfillment, often end up feeling empty. The deepest bonds are formed over time, through shared experiences, struggles, and growth. At its core, impatience is a lack of trust. It's the belief that if we don't get something now, we never will. This fear leads to bad decisions, rushing into things without preparation, quitting too soon, or settling for less than we deserve. But success is not about speed, it's about endurance. The people who achieve great things aren't the ones who move the fastest, but the ones who persist the longest. So how do we break free from the grip of instant gratification? It starts with awareness. We need to recognize the ways in which we trade our future success for momentary pleasure. We need to pause before making decisions and ask ourselves, is this serving my long-term goals? Every choice we make is a vote for the person we are becoming. Are we choosing to be impulsive, or are we choosing to be disciplined? The cost of instant gratification isn't just about money, health, or success. It's about the kind of person we become. Do we want to be someone who chases quick fixes, or someone who builds something lasting? The choice is ours, and the consequences are real. Chapter 4. Why the most successful people master patience. Success is rarely about who is the smartest, the most talented, or the luckiest. It's about who can stick with something long enough to see the results. The ability to wait, to persist through difficulty, and to resist the pull of immediate rewards is what separates those who achieve greatness from those who settle for mediocrity. Warren Buffett, one of the richest people in the world, built his fortune not by chasing quick wins, but by understanding the power of patience. He once said, "Someone is sitting in the shade today because someone planted a tree a long time ago." Investing, like success in any area of life, is about playing the long game. The impatient investor buys and sells constantly, reacting to short-term market fluctuations. The patient investor, however, holds steady, allowing compound interest to work its magic. Over time, patience creates wealth in ways that impulsive decisions never can. The same principle applies to athletes. The best performers in the world don't achieve greatness overnight. They train for years, enduring grueling workouts, injuries, and setbacks. Serena Williams, Michael Jordan, and Tom Brady all built their legacies through relentless commitment, not quick bursts of effort. They understood that real improvement happens gradually. The people who quit after a few months because they don't see immediate progress never get to experience the breakthroughs that come from persistence. Patience is also the foundation of mastery. Malcolm Gladwell popularized the idea that it takes 10,000 hours of deliberate practice to become world-class at something. While the exact number may vary, the principle remains true: mastery requires time. Whether it's learning an instrument, building a business, or writing a book, no one becomes an expert overnight. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't is the willingness to endure the long, often frustrating, journey of skill development. Entrepreneurs who build lasting companies don't chase overnight success. Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon, spent years reinvesting profits into the business instead of taking quick wins. He understood that true success isn't about making the most money in the shortest amount of time, it's about creating something that stands the test of time. Many startups fail because their founders expect rapid results. When success doesn't come instantly, they abandon their vision. The ones who succeed are the ones who keep going when others give up. Patience isn't just about waiting, it's about trusting the process. Every great achievement comes with periods of doubt, frustration, and slow progress. The key is to keep moving forward even when there are no immediate signs of success. J.K. Rowling was rejected by 12 publishers before Harry Potter became one of the best-selling book series of all time. Most people would have quit after a few rejections, assuming they weren't good enough. But Rowling persisted, knowing that success is a matter of endurance. In a world obsessed with speed, patience is a competitive advantage. The majority of people give up too soon. They start a diet but quit after 2 weeks. They launch a business but close it after a few months. They start learning a new skill but abandon it when they don't see immediate progress. The few who can stick it out, who can stay committed when things get tough, are the ones who rise to the top. The greatest successes in life are reserved for those who can delay gratification. The ability to resist the lure of quick results and stay focused on the bigger picture is what creates real achievement. Whether in sports, business, relationships, or personal growth, those who master patience will always have an edge. Patience is a skill, not a personality trait. It can be developed with practice. The more we train ourselves to resist impulsive decisions, the stronger our self-discipline becomes. The stronger our self-discipline, the more success we can achieve. The question isn't whether we have patience, it's whether we are willing to develop it. The rewards for doing so are worth the wait. Chapter 5. The Mindset Shift. Seeing delays as investments. Most people see waiting as wasted time. They view delays as obstacles instead of opportunities. But the truth is, patience isn't about losing time, it's about investing it. The way we think about waiting determines whether it works for us or against us. If we can shift our mindset to see delays as part of the process, rather than barriers to success, we unlock an entirely new level of growth. Think about planting a tree. If you plant a seed today, you don't expect a full-grown tree tomorrow. You water it, expose it to sunlight, and give it time to grow. No matter how impatient you are, the tree won't sprout overnight. But if you take care of it consistently, one day you'll have something strong and lasting. This is how long-term success works. The progress isn't always visible, but it's happening beneath the surface. Most people struggle with patience because they focus on what they don't have yet. They look at the effort they're putting in and feel frustrated when they don't see immediate results. This is where most people quit. But successful people think differently. Instead of seeing delays as setbacks, they see them as an essential part of the journey. They understand that every step forward, no matter how small, is a step closer to their goal. One of the biggest mindset shifts we can make is to stop measuring success by immediate outcomes and start measuring it by progress. If someone wants to lose weight, they often give up if they don't see drastic changes in the first few weeks. But real transformation doesn't happen in a few weeks, it happens over months and years. The key is to focus on the habits being built, rather than the results being seen. If the actions are right, the results will follow. The same principle applies to skill building. Imagine someone learning to play the piano. In the beginning, every note feels like a struggle. It's easy to feel discouraged when the effort doesn't seem to match the outcome. But what they don't realize is that every practice session is an investment. With enough time, the skill compounds, and one day, what once felt difficult becomes second nature. The only difference between those who succeed and those who don't is the ability to persist through the slow phase. Investors understand this concept well. The best returns don't come from chasing quick profits but from letting investments grow over time. Warren Buffett calls this the snowball effect. The longer you let something compound, the bigger it becomes. This doesn't just apply to money, it applies to knowledge, relationships, skills, and personal growth. The longer we stick with something, the more valuable it becomes. Another way to embrace patience is to reframe how we view discomfort. Growth is uncomfortable because it forces us to operate outside our comfort zones. The mistake most people make is assuming that discomfort means something is wrong. In reality, discomfort is a sign that something is changing. The more we learn to embrace frustration, the more likely we are to push through it. A powerful way to reinforce patience is to celebrate small wins. Most people only acknowledge progress when they reach the finish line, but that makes the journey feel discouraging. Instead, recognizing each milestone, no matter how small, keeps us motivated. If someone writes one page of a book, that's progress. If they save $5 instead of spending it, that's progress. The more we acknowledge small victories, the easier it becomes to trust the process. Patience isn't about doing nothing, it's about doing the right things consistently and trusting that they will pay off. The people who succeed in life aren't always the most talented or the smartest. They are the ones who can delay gratification long enough to see their efforts compound. The question is, are we willing to wait for what we truly want, or will we settle for what's easy in the moment? Chapter 6. How to rewire your brain for patience. Patience is not just a mindset, it's a skill that can be trained. The brain is constantly adapting to our behaviors, strengthening the habits we repeat and weakening the ones we ignore. If impatience has been ruling our decisions, it's because we've trained our brains to crave instant rewards. The good news is that we can rewire ourselves to become more patient, making delayed gratification feel natural instead of forced. The first step is awareness. Most people don't even realize how often they give in to immediate gratification. They instinctively reach for their phones when bored, buy things impulsively, or quit when progress feels slow. The key to changing this is to start noticing those moments. Every time we feel the urge to act impulsively, we need to pause and ask ourselves, am I choosing long-term success or short-term comfort? This small act of awareness weakens the habit loop of impatience. One of the most effective ways to rewire the brain is through small, intentional delays. Instead of trying to develop extreme patience overnight, we start with micro delays. If we're about to check social media, we wait 1 minute. If we feel the urge to make an impulsive purchase, we give it 24 hours. These small pauses activate the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for self-control. Over time, these moments add up, making patience second nature. Another powerful technique is reframing. Instead of seeing waiting as painful, we can train our brains to see it as beneficial. When stuck in traffic, instead of getting frustrated, we can use the time to listen to an audiobook or reflect on our day. When waiting for career success, instead of feeling discouraged, we can focus on the skills we're building in the process. The way we interpret delays shapes how we experience them. If we see them as obstacles, they will frustrate us. If we see them as stepping stones, they will empower us. Visualization is another key tool. Studies show that people who vividly imagine their future selves make better long-term decisions. When we picture the rewards of patience, stronger relationships, better health, financial stability, it becomes easier to resist immediate temptations. The brain responds to mental images almost as if they were real, meaning the more we visualize long-term success, the more we align our actions with it. Breathing techniques also play a crucial role in developing patience. Impulsivity is often triggered by stress, and when we're stressed, the brain craves quick relief. Deep breathing exercises help regulate emotions, giving us greater control over our reactions. A simple method is the 4-7-8 technique: inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 7, and exhale for 8. Practicing this regularly strengthens the ability to stay calm in frustrating situations, making patience easier to maintain. Building patience also requires setting up an environment that supports it. If our surroundings constantly push us toward instant gratification, resisting temptation becomes harder. This is why people who remove junk food from their homes find it easier to eat healthy. If we want to develop patience, we need to create conditions that make long-term thinking the default. This could mean limiting notifications, scheduling deep work time, or surrounding ourselves with people who value persistence. The final step is consistency. Rewiring the brain doesn't happen in a single moment, it happens through repeated effort. Each time we delay gratification, we strengthen the neural pathways associated with patience. Each time we resist an impulse, we build more control over our actions. Over weeks and months, these small moments accumulate, transforming how we respond to challenges. Patience isn't about forcing ourselves to wait, it's about training ourselves to prefer long-term rewards. The more we practice, the easier it becomes. With time, patience stops feeling like a struggle and starts feeling like a superpower. The key is simple, small steps, repeated consistently, lead to massive change. The brain adapts to whatever we teach it. The only question is, what are we training it to do? Chapter 7. The Secret Power of Consistency. Success isn't about grand gestures or one-time efforts. It's about small, consistent actions that compound over time. The problem is that most people underestimate the power of consistency because progress often feels too slow. They expect immediate results, and when they don't see them, they quit. But the truth is, consistency is the real secret to patience. It's what separates those who achieve lasting success from those who start strong but fade away. Think about a dripping faucet. A single drop of water doesn't seem like much, but over time, those drops can fill an entire bucket. The same principle applies to any goal. The small things we do daily may not seem significant, but they build up. Missing one workout doesn't make a difference, but skipping exercise for months does. Saving $5 won't make you rich, but consistently saving over years will. Writing 1 page a day won't make you an author overnight, but in a year, you'll have a full book. One of the biggest challenges with consistency is that it often feels boring. People love new beginnings because they're exciting. They set ambitious goals and feel motivated at first, but that excitement fades when progress slows. This is when most people give up. They assume that because they don't see immediate results, their efforts aren't working. But real change happens beneath the surface. Just because we don't see progress right away doesn't mean it's not happening. This is why people who stick with things long-term always outperform those who rely on bursts of effort. Take fitness, for example. Many people go all in for a few weeks, doing extreme diets or intense workouts. They might see some progress, but because they can't maintain that level of effort, they eventually give up. The ones who succeed aren't the ones who work the hardest for a short period, they're the ones who find a pace they can sustain for life. The same principle applies to business. Most companies don't become successful overnight. Amazon took years before it became profitable. Apple almost went bankrupt before becoming one of the biggest companies in the world. The difference between businesses that succeed and those that fail isn't always talent or luck, it's the ability to stay consistent despite challenges. The best entrepreneurs know that small, steady progress is more important than rapid, unsustainable growth. One way to build consistency is to focus on identity rather than outcomes. Instead of saying, "I want to write a book," tell yourself, "I am a writer." Instead of saying, "I want to get in shape," say, "I am someone who exercises daily." When we tie actions to our identity, we're more likely to stick with them. We no longer rely on motivation, which comes and goes. Instead, we act in alignment with who we believe we are. Another key to consistency is reducing friction. The easier a habit is to maintain, the more likely we are to stick with it. If we want to read more, keeping a book on our nightstand makes it effortless. If we want to eat healthier, prepping meals in advance removes the temptation to grab fast food. By setting up systems that support long-term habits, we make consistency automatic. Perhaps the most important part of consistency is learning to trust the process. Growth doesn't happen in a straight line. Some days we feel like we're making huge progress, other days we feel stuck. But if we stay the course, those small actions compound into something bigger than we ever imagined. The key is to focus on the process, not just the results. Patience and consistency go hand in hand. It's not about making massive changes overnight. It's about making small, sustainable choices every day. Over time, those choices add up to extraordinary results. The question isn't whether we can be consistent. The question is whether we're willing to keep going even when progress isn't visible. That's what makes the difference. Chapter 8. The 4-step formula for mastering delayed gratification. Delayed gratification isn't just about willpower, it's about strategy. The reason most people struggle with patience isn't because they're weak or undisciplined. It's because they haven't developed a system that makes waiting easier. When we have a clear structure in place, resisting instant gratification becomes less about fighting temptation and more about following a proven process. That's where the 4-step formula comes in. The first step is identifying your triggers. Every impulsive decision has a cause. Maybe it's stress, boredom, or social pressure. The key is to recognize what situations lead to impulsive behavior. If someone constantly finds themselves scrolling through social media instead of working, the trigger might be boredom. If they struggle with emotional spending, the trigger might be stress. The moment we identify what's driving our impulsive choices, we gain control. We stop reacting automatically and start making intentional decisions. The second step is creating a waiting strategy. When faced with temptation, most people rely on pure willpower. The problem is that willpower is limited, it weakens the more we use it. Instead of trying to resist in the moment, we need a plan in place beforehand. One of the simplest yet most effective strategies is the 10-minute rule. When faced with an urge, delay acting on it for 10 minutes. If, after that time, the temptation is still strong, then reconsider. More often than not, the delay itself is enough to break the impulse. This technique forces the rational part of the brain to engage, making it easier to choose long-term benefits over short-term pleasure. The third step is using rewards wisely. Delayed gratification doesn't mean avoiding all rewards, it means structuring them strategically. When we set up a system where rewards come after effort, we train our brains to associate patience with pleasure. For example, instead of mindlessly checking social media throughout the day, use it as a reward after completing a task. Instead of indulging in unhealthy snacks whenever cravings hit, use them as a treat after a week of healthy eating. This approach keeps motivation high while reinforcing discipline. The key is to make sure rewards don't undo the progress being made. The fourth step is making patience a game. When something feels like a struggle, it becomes exhausting. But when it feels like a challenge, it becomes motivating. This is why successful people turn patience into a game. Athletes track their progress, investors set long-term goals, and entrepreneurs view obstacles as part of the journey. One way to apply this is by setting small milestones. Instead of focusing on a goal that feels far away, break it down into tiny wins. If the goal is to save $10,000, start with 100. If the goal is to lose 20 pounds, celebrate the first 2. Each small success builds momentum, making the process more enjoyable. Mastering delayed gratification isn't about depriving ourselves, it's about learning to control when and how we experience rewards. When we have a clear system in place, patience stops feeling like suffering and starts feeling like power. We no longer feel controlled by impulses. We become intentional about our actions. We stop sabotaging our own progress. At first, applying these steps may feel unnatural. The brain is wired to seek immediate pleasure, and breaking that habit takes time. But with repetition, these behaviors become second nature. The more we practice, the stronger our self-control becomes. What once felt difficult eventually feels automatic. Delayed gratification is the foundation of success in every area of life. Whether it's building wealth, improving health, or mastering a skill, the ability to wait for greater rewards is what separates those who reach their goals from those who don't. The good news is that patience isn't a personality trait, it's a learnable skill. The only question is, are we willing to train for it? Chapter 9. The Patience Blueprint for Financial Success. Building wealth isn't about luck, intelligence, or even how much money we make. It's about how well we manage, multiply, and master our money over time. The biggest mistake most people make is chasing quick financial wins instead of playing the long game. The ability to delay gratification is the single most important skill in wealth creation. Without patience, even the highest income can disappear. With patience, even a modest income can turn into financial security. One of the best examples of this principle is Warren Buffett. He didn't become one of the richest people in the world by chasing quick returns. He built his fortune by following a simple rule: invest early, be patient, and let time do the work. Buffett understands that wealth compounds over decades, not days. Most people, however, look for shortcuts, trying to get rich quickly instead of getting rich steadily. This impatience leads to risky investments, unnecessary debt, and financial stress. The key to financial success is shifting from a consumer mindset to an investor mindset. Most people spend money as soon as they get it, focusing on short-term pleasures instead of long-term stability. They buy things to impress others, upgrade their lifestyles before they can afford it, and prioritize instant comfort over future security. The investor mindset, on the other hand, focuses on making money work for us. Instead of spending on things that lose value, we put our money into assets that grow over time. This shift requires patience, but the rewards are exponential. One of the biggest traps of impatience is lifestyle inflation. As people earn more, they spend more. Instead of using extra income to build wealth, they use it to upgrade their cars, homes, and gadgets. The problem isn't that they lack money, it's that they lack discipline. True financial success isn't about how much we earn, but how much we keep and invest. The richest people aren't always the ones with the highest incomes, they're the ones who mastered patience with their money. Another critical aspect of financial patience is long-term investing. The stock market is a perfect example of how impatience destroys wealth. Many people panic when the market dips, selling their investments at a loss instead of waiting for recovery. History shows that the market always rebounds over time. Those who stay invested through downturns always come out ahead. Yet, most people let fear and impatience push them into bad decisions. The best investors understand that wealth isn't built by timing the market, but by time in the market. Debt is another area where patience is crucial. Most people go into debt not because they have to, but because they want something now instead of later. Credit cards, car loans, and personal debt are often symptoms of impatience. Instead of saving for a purchase, they finance it instantly, paying far more in interest than if they had waited. The most financially successful people avoid unnecessary debt, knowing that patience allows them to buy things outright instead of borrowing against their future. The simple truth is that small, consistent financial habits lead to big results over time. Someone who invests $500 a month starting at age 25 will have significantly more wealth than someone who starts at 40, even if the latter invests twice as much. This is the power of compounding. The earlier we start and the longer we wait, the greater the rewards. Mastering financial patience isn't about depriving ourselves, it's about making decisions that serve us in the long run. The ability to resist impulse spending, avoid lifestyle inflation, and stay committed to long-term investments is what separates financial success from financial struggle. The question isn't whether we can build wealth. The question is whether we can wait long enough to let it happen. Chapter 10. Developing Patience in Relationships. Strong relationships don't happen overnight. They take time, trust, and commitment. The biggest mistake people make is expecting instant connection, immediate understanding, or quick fixes to problems. But just like success in any other area of life, great relationships require patience. Without it, misunderstandings turn into permanent distance, small conflicts escalate into major breakups, and opportunities to build deep bonds are lost. Patience in relationships begins with understanding that people grow at different paces. Whether it's a friendship, romantic relationship, or professional partnership, expecting instant alignment is unrealistic. People have different backgrounds, experiences, and ways of thinking. Instead of demanding immediate change or agreement, the best relationships are built on allowing each other the space to grow. Impatience pushes people away, while patience creates an environment where growth can happen naturally. One of the biggest challenges in relationships is communication. In moments of frustration, it's easy to react impulsively, say things we don't mean, or shut down completely. But patience allows us to pause, process, and respond in a way that strengthens rather than damages the connection. The ability to listen without interrupting, to understand before reacting, and to allow the other person time to express themselves is what builds lasting trust. Trust itself is a product of patience. It can't be built in a day, but it can be broken in a second. Many people expect trust to form quickly, but real trust is built through consistency. It's not about one big gesture. It's about showing up again and again. The most successful relationships are those where both people understand that trust is earned over time, not demanded instantly. Conflict is another area where patience plays a critical role. Every relationship will face challenges, whether small disagreements or major struggles. The difference between relationships that last and those that fall apart isn't the absence of problems, it's how those problems are handled. Impatience leads to rushing through difficult conversations, trying to win arguments, or walking away at the first sign of discomfort. But patience allows for resolution. It gives both people the space to work through challenges, understand each other's perspectives, and find solutions instead of creating further division. Patience is also key in romantic relationships. Many people expect passion, excitement, and deep connection to always be present, but relationships go through cycles. There will be moments of intense connection and moments where things feel routine. Those who don't understand this often believe that when the excitement fades, the relationship is failing. But those who practice patience understand that true love isn't about constant intensity, it's about commitment through all phases. They know that real intimacy is built over time, not in a single moment. Friendships also require patience. In an age of instant communication, it's easy to assume that a good friendship means constant contact, but real friendships are tested by time and distance. Sometimes people are busy, sometimes they are going through personal struggles, and sometimes life simply pulls them in different directions. Impatience can make us assume the worst, that someone doesn't care or isn't putting in effort. But patience allows us to give people grace, to understand that true friendships don't require constant validation, and that real connections endure even through silence. The workplace is another area where patience in relationships is essential. Whether dealing with difficult coworkers, building a professional network, or waiting for career opportunities, relationships take time to develop. Impatience can lead to frustration, burnt bridges, and missed opportunities. But those who understand the value of patience know that the best opportunities come to those who build long-term connections, rather than expecting immediate results. At its core, patience in relationships is about prioritizing long-term connection over short-term frustration. It's about resisting the urge to react impulsively, choosing to communicate with understanding, and allowing people the space to grow. The strongest relationships aren't the ones that never face problems, they are the ones that navigate them with patience, respect, and trust. In a world where everything moves fast, choosing to slow down and invest in people is what truly makes relationships last. Chapter 11. Learning to trust the process. Patience is not just about waiting, it's about trusting that the effort we put in today will pay off in the future. The challenge is that most success happens beneath the surface long before we see results. When things feel slow or uncertain, the natural instinct is to doubt, quit, or look for shortcuts. But those who achieve lasting success understand one simple truth: progress is always happening, even when it's not visible. The biggest reason people struggle with patience is that they focus too much on the outcome instead of the process. They want to lose weight but get frustrated when the scale doesn't change overnight. They start a business but give up when profits don't appear immediately. They work on a skill but quit when they don't see fast improvement. The problem isn't a lack of ability, it's a lack of trust in the process. Those who succeed learn to focus on the daily actions, knowing that results will come as a byproduct of consistency. A great example of this is the Chinese bamboo tree. After planting the seed, nothing happens for 5 years. No visible growth, no signs of progress, not just empty soil. But beneath the surface, the tree is developing a complex root system, preparing for explosive growth. Then, almost overnight, it shoots up over 80 feet in a matter of weeks. The question is, did the tree grow in just a few weeks, or was it growing all along? The answer is clear: without the years of unseen progress, the sudden growth would have never been possible. This is how success works. The work we put in today isn't wasted, it's laying the foundation for something bigger. The key to trusting the process is to measure progress differently. Instead of focusing on external results, focus on internal growth. If someone is trying to get fit, instead of only tracking weight loss, they can track energy levels, strength gains, and how they feel. If someone is building a business, instead of obsessing over revenue, they can measure how many people they help, how much they improve their skills, or how well they execute their strategy. Shifting focus from immediate outcomes to long-term progress makes patience easier. Another way to build trust in the process is to develop a long-term perspective. Most people overestimate what they can achieve in a month, but underestimate what they can achieve in 5 years. The best way to illustrate this is through compound interest. At first, savings grow slowly, almost imperceptibly. But over time, they start to multiply, and what once seemed insignificant becomes massive. The same is true for skills, relationships, and any long-term effort. What feels like slow progress today is actually the foundation for exponential growth later. Doubt is the enemy of patience. When things don't move as fast as we expect, we assume we're failing. But real failure isn't slow progress, it's stopping altogether. The people who succeed aren't the ones who never doubt themselves. They're the ones who keep going despite their doubts. They trust that if they keep showing up, the results will take care of themselves. Trusting the process doesn't mean ignoring setbacks. It means understanding that setbacks are part of the journey. Growth is never a straight line. Some days will feel frustrating. Some weeks will feel like nothing is happening. But every step forward, no matter how small, is still progress. The key is to stay consistent, stay patient, and stay committed to the bigger picture. The most successful people aren't the ones who never feel frustrated. They are the ones who know that even when progress is invisible, it's still happening. Patience isn't passive, it's an active decision to keep going. The question isn't whether success is possible. The question is whether we are willing to trust the process long enough to let it happen. Take care and be well.